Hello and welcome to Poly-Innovator. Now, please ignore the background screen right there. I moved things around, and so this whole setup is something I'm getting used to. So hopefully this isn't too distracting back there. Maybe I could turn this away or something like that, so that way you're not looking at both. I actually got a new camera, which is what you're looking at there is the Xbox Connect, and it's an amazing little thing. Just a little tiny tangent there. $40 to get it set up, technically $38. Where I bought it for $20, got the adapter for $18, and it's one of the most solid 1080p webcams. And just for context, I'm going to show you what my other camera looks like too. So this is the Now page update for February 2022. Man, it's so crazy. I was telling somebody about this last night, how I started doing these back in 2019, over almost 2 years ago at this point, and over a year, I guess is best, more aptly put. And I started doing the videos only about a year ago, but this whole concept of a Now page, I still am enamored with, and I almost explain it every single time I do these videos because it's just something that's so amazing. Explaining what's happening, I always do this. Explaining what's happening that's in my professional life and personal life, and considering PolyInnovator is a bit of both, it often gets overlapped. And this post definitely, I feel like, got overlapped quite a bit, and I'll explain that here in a second. Here's the intro.
Dustin Miller, PolyInnovator.
So what happened over this past month? Well, the new year started, and I've always told my clients to forego any kind of New Year's resolution because it doesn't usually work out. When you make a New Year's resolution, you put yourself up for failure, you set yourself up for failure because New Year's resolutions have a time limit. By the time you hit February, that New Year's is over, and so that spirit you were using in order to do it left you. Now, I did try to start a new goal, and this is something I set even before January happened, where for the first 2 months of this year, I wanted to create content every day. So it's 60 days of content. And it wasn't necessarily overbearing per se, but I just ended up not being able to get it done, partially because of my new job. The new job requires me to be there in the morning around 11, which my prime hour is 10 to 11. So having that hour cut short, let alone kind of the stress of having to leave, distracts me from working on stuff during that hour. And that's my prime creative hour. Same thing with the afternoon. I'm usually kind of tired at that point, but at least by the time I have to do my other job at the 2 o'clock mark, I'm at least awake, but I have to be on the other side of town for that. And so getting used to that new schedule threw me off when it came to creating content, and then I got behind. And then I also spent too much time trying to transcribe. I've been trying to figure out the transcriptions. That's another thing I actually need to put on there. No, I put that on there. So I have a list down below on the post where these are the tasks I need to get done over the next month or so, let alone maybe a couple months, but ideally, I want to get it done. So this whole year has already been a roller coaster where I've been up and down because of sad, and not to mention too, just the energy level. Today it's really bright, but that's only because of the snow. If the snow isn't there, it'd be gloomy. It would be gloomy and dark, and it would just make me feel bad. In fact, I need to go take some D3 so I can get some vitamins, But hopefully now that I'm stuck at home, the snowstorm is kind of relaxed, I can actually relax myself. And so I'm actually wearing more common clothing, even some gym shorts to feel more relaxed at home. Fluffy socks. So just so you can see, nice fluffy socks. And the idea behind relaxing at home while also working at home, they often try to clash. And so I'm really having a hard time really getting back on track. But I feel like once I do, it's going to be really great. And I don't know how many times I've said that on these vlogs, but it's one of those things where I do believe it. I just have to find that time. And so I'm working really hard on trying to get myself back on track. And once I do, I can accomplish these tasks that I'm about to go into over the next couple seconds here really well. So one of the future posts actually that are coming out is around this idea of juggling or being a serial polymath, one after the other. And so something I've talked about on the interviews quite a lot is that a lot of people become serial polymaths without even realizing it. By living their whole life, they've done one thing after the other, and they become a polymath by the end of their life anyways. And that's one reason why I always say polymathing is a lot more common. However, there's also the people who like to juggle it, the jack of all trades approach. And honestly, everyone misconceives that. They always think, if you're juggling, you're not focusing. No. Our brains like to switch between tasks, and sometimes if you're not focused on a task well enough and something else is more interesting to you, you're going to switch. That's the whole concept behind interleaving when it came to the modular degree, for example. When something loses your interest, you're no longer going to absorb it properly. And so this idea of switching between different modules, switching between different tasks really comes into play. So this whole idea of switching, I think, is really key, because at this point, I didn't really explain this too well in the post, but hopefully I can verbally. I think that if I were to do all these tasks sequentially or in a serial format, I would actually fail because a lot of them need to be built up on top of each other. The reason why I created a phase system in the first place is that the phases never really ended. They would just decrease. So I stopped doing the phase 1 to do the interviews, and then now that I'm done with the interviews, at least for now, I'm doing phase 2, finally, at this point. And my timeline in my head was just off when I initiated phase 2, because now it's really actually initiating, basically. And before I can even get to the exercise content, I need to make my modular degree content, I need to make my polymathy content, because those are my 2 baselines. Polymathy is the big umbrella. The first phase was modular education, self-education, so I need to create content around that, because I haven't for a while, especially since I'm going to be priming up to get released the modular degree template. So I need to work on phase 1 before phase 2. Not to mention, too, I've been trying to work on my swimming book, but I haven't got around to writing it very much recently. And so because of that, I need to start sowing the seeds for swimming content and exercise content, and then I can start showing behind the scenes behind the book, and then actually release the book, and then both cases, that those phases will be most of the way complete. I never think they're going to be complete, because down the line, I'm probably going to make a swimming course. I actually even bought a little waterproof action camera to do so. I'll also be making more on the modular degree, modifying it based off feedback, stuff like that. So neither one of them are going to be finished, but the first part of that phase will be finished. And so the first main project, I guess you could say, or one of the first at least. And so those really need to be, they can't be sequential. They have to be over time together. And so just switching between them when I need to, and having it spaced out like once a month or maybe 4 times a month, like once a week, that kind of thing. And so it's not about like juggling a whole bunch of different areas per se. It's about doing it in a systematic way, switching between these in the most ideal, optimized time split, so to speak. And so these phases are great, and they allow me to really organize it, especially in my PolyInnovation operating system, in a more unique way. However, I'm having this idea of like, I need to go into like a deep work format. And so, for example, one of the other tasks I need to get done, because it's literally a year old now, is Beyond Words, which used to be SpeechKit. They gave me a task to record a whole bunch of thousands of lines in order to have my own voice as the reader of all of these posts. So if you scroll up to the top of the blog post that's linked in the description of this video, then at the top of that post will be a little player. That player will play the words of the blog post using some kind of AI voice. We can train that voice to use my own voice, which I think is fascinating. And some people are fearful about that. But I would much rather have that, and then I can create more content from that too, no less, which would be amazing. And so this whole idea is something I've been trying to get done for a long time, and I feel like I'm almost there. Like I just need to get done and get going with that. And then I finally got my last interview out, but now I can focus on the transcriptions. I've been trying to do the transcription all last month. For some reason, I'm having a hard time getting the format down or just really getting into the groove of transcriptions. Maybe I'm overthinking it, or maybe I'm just not patient enough to sit through all the a boringness aspect behind it. But I just need to sit there and do a transcription a day, in order to just get it done. And then finally, just getting those templates out and getting the LLC formed. And so the LLC, at least I talked to somebody about it, and I think I have a plan now for how to get it done. I just need to pay for it. And that's where a lot of the issues of coming out of my own budget comes into play. So LLC, modular degree, Notion templates, and that includes the PIOS template too. So getting that template out so people can actually use that new operating system for their life. All of these really come together. They're not separated things, but finding a way to get them out is the hard part. So after this, I'm going to try to work on something else too. And that's basically what's coming up too. So something that I wanted to mention in this video is that I've always wanted to be a businessman. And even as a teenager, I'd be saying, I want to be a CEO of an international company driven to innovate technology and ideology. And that whole little mouthful came out of a teenager's mouth. And so this whole idea behind creating PolyInnovator was the foundation for that goal. And so each of these phases build upon that foundation so I can get to that goal. And eventually maybe that might be the PolyInnovator construct, United Living Construct, whichever term I end up using. But like building that out, and that would be the actual final goal, magnum opus, if you will. But the thing is, in order to get to that point, I need to make income. I want to move this summer. That's one of my biggest goals right now, is to be able to move either, I don't know if it's working on a cruise ship, or move to Austin, or move to Singapore, which are the 3 options really in my head. But regardless, I want to move, and I need to make money in order to do that. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, leave a like. Please leave a comment if you have any ideas, or if you are curious about what one of the tasks I'm doing, because they are kind of weird. Like, using my own voice for AI reading or creating a modular degree is like a weird concept too. So just let me know if you have questions, and let me know what you think about this new camera too, because the old one has a way smaller field of view. This one shows a whole bunch more. I want to get to the point where I can switch between them, so I can like do this and then do that, then do this, and it'd be kind of cool. But anyways, I digress. Thanks for listening. Peace out.